We touched on a story yesterday that our Rob Dawson wrote. It's over on the ESPN.com website, and it's about Harry Maguire and sources telling ESPN that Harry Maguire is very affected by social media, particularly in the aftermath of matches. Sources have told ESPN that Maguire can, on occasion, focus too much on social media criticism, despite being advised to stay off Twitter in the immediate aftermath of matches. Nadim, yesterday, speaking about this, Frank Leboeuf told us about a coach friend of his, he wouldn't reveal who it was, who said that it was just so different these days because after a game, you'd see players in the dressing room, as soon as they come back in from the game, just all pulling out their phones and looking straight away at social media. Is that something you ever saw or experienced when you were still playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it was. I think that's something that changed a lot over the years from when I started playing in 2004 to when I was on the wire in 2020, because everyone is connected now. Most players, if not all players, are online. They all have public profiles and, you know, they just see a different world to, say, the one that existed when myself and the other guys were playing right at the start. So this is the way that it's gone. And they do go on their phones, probably doing a multitude of things. Some of it is just mind-numbing. They're not actually paying attention to what's going on. It's just a habit. Sometimes you look around, you see everybody on their phone. And, you know, it'd be fair. It feels like it'd be fair to be critical, but it's just different. Everybody's kind of in the same situation. They will connect with each other. And I think with Harry, he's not young. He's 30 years old, and yeah, he's going online. But I don't know. Are people watching him over his shoulder as he goes on Twitter and scrolls through the replies and see what people are saying? I'm not sure. And if they believe it's affecting him, then, you know, maybe it's a case he needs to maybe do it less. But ultimately, he's made it this far with having this habit. So I don't know. It's a strange one. And for him as well, if he's looking online to see what people think about his performance, he's in a very, very unique situation where if he does well, nobody says anything. But if he does badly, everyone wants to tell him. So there's no actual net gain to be had from going to look what people think about him as a player. So, you know, maybe I'd advise against it. But then, as I say, it's younger people. They live in a different world to, say, some of the ones who are older who don't need the internet. But for them, they're very much a big part of it. And I wish him well. I hope it doesn't affect his football too much. But it's fair to say as well, as far as playing for England goes, he checks his phone, he does just fine for them. So maybe there's something there, maybe there's not.
Even if a player does well, even if a player has a great game, there will still be the moronic element, finds something that has a negative undertone to it. Because these platforms are riddled with a lot of sensible people, but they're riddled with idiots, right? Some of the worst. So it is the modern day social media, but there's ways and means of cutting out what you do and don't see. And if it is affecting you as a player, you've got to do the common sense thing, is you don't spend time checking that people are hammering you. Because if it's affecting you, then that's just a silly thing to do. So I don't know how much truth there is in it or how much it's affecting them. I don't know. But what I do know is all these players will be getting pummeled. Because that's what happens. You've only got to go on anybody's social media account. We talk about Ronaldo this week. Even dared to suggest that he was becoming too old to be picked for Portugal and they should move on. Oh my God. Everybody got roasted. Now, we don't care. We just come in and we do our jobs. But you have to be sensible about these things. If you're a modern day player and you're more affected than others by what people are saying, you should not be on these platforms as much.
There's a couple of things. If you're Harry Maguire and you're going through on the field what he's been going through, why are you going on social media? Because not only are the opposition fans giving you grief, you're getting grief off your own fans. So why are you doing it? And it actually, in my opinion, makes no difference between today and when we played. Because the papers still gave people stick. So what you did then was you didn't read the papers. I mean, it's common. It should be common sense. It really should be. And Harry Maguire, as Nadim said, has got a 3 in front of his name. And if he's looking on social media to figure out how good or bad he was, then I don't understand how he's got to Manchester United. Because as players, you should know whether you've had a good day, an average day, or a horrible day without going on social media and looking for a clap in the back or whatever. I mean, come on, have a bit of common sense.
What do you think of it all, Stuart? Are you glad that social media wasn't around when you were playing? Do you think that you would have had an account and been checking it if it were around?
I certainly wouldn't have had an account, and I certainly wouldn't have been checking it. I'll give you an example. When I first started writing for the Sunday Telegraph, and I wrote about 6 or 7 articles, and then you could press a button and see what people said about your articles. For 6 or 7 weeks, everything was great. Oh, so I kept on looking at it. Oh, they're saying great things about me. What a great article that was. And the 7th one, I criticised Arsene Wenger. Oh, my goodness gracious. It all came down, and that was the last time I ever looked at a social media or a Twitter page or anything to do with anything that I do. It's better off not knowing. The only people you have to make sure are on your side are your manager, your coach, and the other people I used to get advice from was my family. That's all that you need to make sure that enjoy what you're doing. Don't worry about the idiots that are writing in on Twitter and all those sort of accounts. It's absolute madness for Harry Maguire to do that.
Last word goes to you on this one, Nadem.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think what everyone said has been like so reasonable, but I think ultimately, just younger players, they're different. They've got more of a compulsion to be online, and most of them have grown up online. So for them to step away from it, it's a huge leap, far bigger than, say, any of ourselves deciding to go away from it. So I think if anything, if this report ends up being true and he can't get away from Twitter, then it's a sign that he's addicted to that and he does need some sort of help, because it's not helping him on the field, off the field, and so on and so forth. Because to receive that much opinion about yourself, which you probably believe to be wrong all the time, but not be able to step away from it, if it's true, as I say, that is a bigger cry for help, and I think he should be supported through that, because ultimately, nobody needs to go through that if that's going to be the case. And like I say, it's a privilege in some ways to be in a place where you can step away from it, because lots of people who are younger than us, for them, it's almost impossible, unfortunately.
I think we need to call it the Derek Ray syndrome. Derek who can't, whenever I see him, doesn't matter if he's in a crowd and he's in a pub or a restaurant, he cannot get off that phone and stop checking his Twitter.
But everybody loves Derek, so nobody would say anything mean to him.
No, not many people say mean things to Derek.
Yeah.
1 or 2, but he, and it is, some people, and I say this as you know, Derek is a very good friend. He is, it's almost like, a drug's the wrong word, but it is like, it just draws some people to it.
Compulsion, isn't it? You just can't help it.
And some people just can't help checking and looking. And unfortunately, as we know, there's not a lot of sensible people out there who put sensible things on social media. So you have to be careful.
You do have to be careful.
Stevie's thinking about reactivating his.
Oh, well,
maybe.
Definitely.
Tweet responsibly.
And Rob was
people.
thinking about joining.
Tweet responsibly.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.